Everything you want to achieve, every hope, every aspiration, every dream, everything you want to do within your organizations and within your department, it's all going to be with and through people.
How many of you have clients who are great friends of yours? I would hope so. How many of you have friends that you work with? Raise your hands. Yeah, except for him. He's like, no, you don't understand what office I work in. Of course you do. Of course you do. And the key is we know that those great relationships, those great business relationships that also happen to be your best friends, some of the people you care, some of the people you love, those individuals happen to be some of your best clients. How many people in here are in sales? Raise your hands. I hope the answer is everybody, right? We're all in sales. How many people are single out here? Yeah, you're in sales too, okay? We're all in sales. It's your job to move your relationships from here, stoic, static, foundational business relationships, to real, deep, personal, intimate relationships that are caring, that are there for each other, where you want to go that extra mile. That's the kind of stuff that success and joy is built off of, right? Right? You get into your own heads and you think that you got to be perfect. You think that people come to you because they're expecting so much from you. You know what? They want to trust you. The only differentiation in this marketplace, the only differentiation in financial services is you. It's not your products. Yes, they're clever. Yes, your performance is above average. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Because as soon as the next competitor walks in the door and talks to somebody, all they've got to say is one little thing. It's like, oh, well, Northwestern this. And all of the credibility and the exceptional nature of who you are as a company and the brands just go out the door. Because at the end of the day, it's the relationships that define your success. It's the relationships that define your product. You define your product. And it's not all the fancy stuff that goes on behind. It's this stuff.
You're here because you want to improve yourselves. And you have aspirations, you have dreams, you have passions that you're trying to achieve. And you're here to get a jump start to that. Well, share that with people. What are your passions? What are the things that excite you? Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? There's nothing wrong, particularly in an environment like this. No more small talk.
How many people out here have a child somewhere between the ages of 1.5 and 3? Raise your hands. There's nothing more passionate in your lives than that child right now. Watching that child blossom and grow, or grandchildren of that age. Raise your hands. Same thing. Same thing. Look at that. Look at that smile on that man's face. George, I mean, you just lit up when I asked you about your grandson or daughter. Every one of you knows that when you reach out to the world and you share your passion, you're inviting people in to do the same with theirs.
So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to stand up and I'd like you to find somebody that you haven't met yet, or at least you don't know that well, and just talk. I don't want anybody to introduce themselves. You don't care about the division. I don't want you to know how many years you've been here. I just want you to talk about what are you passionate about. Spend 2 minutes having that conversation. Go ahead.
We were looking for the perfect presenter to kickstart this networking event for America's best and brightest entrepreneurs, and you did just that. Within moments of taking the stage, you had all 800 of our CEOs on their feet and talking. It was a highlight of the event. John Coton, Editor-in-Chief, Inc. Magazine.
Hello. Hello. She winked at me. How fantastic. Hello. She's fantastic. You want to come up and wave at everybody? Want to come up and wave at everybody? Come on. Yeah, she does. She wants to come up and wave at everybody. Look at this. You want to wave at everybody? There you go. It's a pleasure. How could you not be passionate about that? What you just experienced, that fear and trepidation of actually being vulnerable, but then once you got going, the ease with which, and more importantly, the person sitting next to you, I guarantee you, how many of you started caring more for that person as they began to share? I mean, you're prejudiced. Don't raise your hands because some of you might not. The point is, of course you do. That's human. The more you let your guards down, the more vulnerable you are, the more transparent that you are, the more more obvious it is that you're actually a person. The pinnacle of intimacy, and I'm going to right now walk you through something called an intimacy pyramid. Every sales call, every relationship, whether it's personal or professional, has to make its way up to the top of the intimacy pyramid to be successful. And at the tip of the intimacy pyramid is deeper mutual understanding. Two people who really get each other. How many of you, if you asked yourselves really, how many people really understand me? How many people really get me? It's a gift, it's a blessing. We spend our entire lives seeking that soulmate, somebody that we can find who really, truly understands us. The women are out there sitting there like, yes, he finally gets it. The guys are like, let me write this down.
How many of you in here know somebody that you would have liked to have gotten to know better, but for whatever reason, that individual just had this wall around them and you just couldn't get through? How many of you ever known such a person? Raise your hand. Yeah, how many of you are married to that person? Here's the advice, if I could be so precocious to give you advice. Here's the advice. Don't be that person. I guarantee all of us, there are people on our organizations who think we're that person. We know what that feels like. We know what it's like to want to need to aspire to, get closer to another individual, but that last mile of intimacy, that last sense of humanity and closeness, you just can't break through that person's shell. We shouldn't be that as leaders. If you're going to reach down, as Nick suggested, if you're going to bring people into you and allow you to be candid and to some sense even foster confrontation that's healthy in the organization, you've got to create, and it's your obligation, a fertile environment around yourself that welcomes people in to be fully themselves, to be flawed, and to be vulnerable as we all are.
From meal to meal, I live in fear of not having Splenda. You know, because that pink and that blue stuff just doesn't do it for me. The only joy in my life right now is a cup of coffee with that little yellow sweetener in it, all right? And I worry that my next meal, I'm going to go to some place that's not going to have Splenda. So you know what I started to do? And I this is embarrassing, but I noticed out that I steal Splenda. I stole your Splenda. I'm getting paid a good gig here, but I stole your Splenda. I'm the little old woman from Palm Beach now that goes around with a... You know, but that's a struggling mentality. It's, you know, it is what it is. Look, we all have this stuff, but here's the other issue. That same struggling mentality, I'm sure, is stifling the growth of my company.
Keith has long been a leading marketing innovator. His way with people truly makes him a star. In his message, he has taken his gift and created specific steps that are easily followed to achieve great success. Robert Kotick, Chairman and CEO, Activision.
In the room, in the green room in the back, walked Richard Branson, you know, from Virgin. And I'm sitting there, and I'm so excited because I've always wanted to meet Richard Branson. And I got up out of my chair, and I started walking over to him, and I choked. And I went and sat down. And I went and sat down because I was sitting there thinking, look, with Jack Welch sitting over there talking to Colin Powell, if they see me over there fawning on Richard Branson, they're going to know that I don't deserve to play in this sandbox. You know, I wasn't one of the big boys. I didn't feel as good as the rest of those guys. And I sat and I thought to myself, read your damn book. So I got up. There's a chapter in the book called Audacity. I got up and I walked over and I said, Mr. Branson, I got to tell you, you walked in the room and I was intimidated. I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. And he looked at me and he said, well, it's nice to meet you, Keith. I'm like, you know who I am? He's like, no, you're wearing a name tag. This isn't about a transaction, folks. This is about people and their dreams and their struggles and their fears and their aspirations and their passions and their kids and their families. That's what you do. You know that. And you do it better than anybody else. But it's about real intimacy. It's about real relationships. But you've got to be willing to be that yourself.
And it's a pyramid. You start with sharing the passions and the excitements and who you are and all that kind of good stuff that gets you at ease. But if you can't share the struggles, I guarantee you, as you sit around, there are people whose, parents struggle with Alzheimer's. There's, individuals whose businesses aren't exactly where you want them to be, or careers, etc. All this stuff is going on, and you need to be able to share that with the people around you to create that fertile ground of a relationship. So I'd like you very quickly to stand up and talk to that exact same person, but this time stretch yourself a little bit. Talk about some of the things you're struggling with, some of the things you're worried about. If you can't do it in here, you're not going to be able to do it out there. And if you don't do it out there, I promise you, you won't have the intimacy in your life that you need in order to generate the true relationships that will be there for you, in times to come. So start that conversation right now. There are so many people around you that want you to be a success. People right here. You've just established a relationship like that, instant intimacy with an individual you didn't even know, and you started caring about each other. That's how easy it is.
How many of you found that the thing that the person was sharing with you was something you had experienced yourself or had full empathy for? Raise your hands. Like all of you. Get over yourselves, you're not unique.
If this entire group just decided that as you walk around, go to this break and say to yourselves, I want to make everybody here successful. Everybody I talk to, I'm going to try to figure out a way if I can make them more successful. Right now, the break is an opportunity. Work the breaks. Don't go back and check your email. That's what BlackBerries are for in here. You should be doing your email in here while this...
I've seen Keith Ferrazzi in action, and he is a master at building relationships to further the interests of an enterprise. He's dynamic at sharing his knowledge for those who want to learn the secrets of this important executive art. Dr. Klaus Kleinfeld, CEO, Siemens AG.
I was young, I was probably, 8 or so years old. My dad and I were driving down the street in Pittsburgh, and it was Christmas time, and Dad had been unemployed for 6 months. It had been a particularly tough time for us. And I had wanted this big wheel. I don't know if you know what that is, like a little plastic wheel toy. And Dad saw one in someone's trash along the side of the road. Now imagine what it takes for a 55-year-old proud steelworker to pull his car off the side of the road with his son in the car to go pick up trash for his son's Christmas present. But he did. And my dad always used to teach me, Keith, don't ever be afraid to ask. The worst anybody could ever say is no. So the lesson of audacity, it's actually, that lesson is not something that was new to me that day, but the lesson that was new to me was the lesson that I learned from the woman who came to the door, because Dad was so proud and had such high integrity that he didn't just go and grab it and throw it in the back of the car. He walked up the sidewalk and knocked on the door, and the woman came to the door and she said, well, of course you can have the big wheel. In fact, my grandkids have recently moved away, and we've got lots of other stuff. We've got some bikes. We didn't have the heart to throw those away. Would you like the bikes? Wait, we've got a go-kart. Would your son like a go-kart? I had the best damn Christmas. I thought about that recently, and what I thought about was, think about how that woman must have felt Christmas Eve, doing her dishes in the kitchen. Think about the joy my father gave her. Yeah, sure, that woman made our Christmas wonderful, but think about the joy my father gave her by just reaching out, having established a basic level of intimacy, and allowed that woman to touch us and to help us. There are people around you today, sitting next to you, back in your offices, friends in your church, members of your family, that long for you to be successful. They would gain so much joy out of seeing you be successful. Let the people around you help. Let them help. Give them the joy. Enlist others. Don't just be generous, but also be receiving. Have a great day.
But I thought that was just tremendous. I sat there myself thinking, this is one of those people that you just wish you had met 20 years earlier. It was very, very powerful. Outstanding.
Thank you. Outstanding.